are catching this over on YouTube, I will link to where you can jump right into the content and miss all this early on, waiting for people to come in and saying hello. If you're here now, you can pop your name in the comments. Hello, Inga, maybe? How do I say your name? What's your name? What's your name over on YouTube? Hi, Olive. So glad you guys could join me this Saturday. I'm so excited to talk about this because this is kind of the bulk of what I teach. It's making your style work for your everyday, not just for those grand moments, but just in your everyday life. Hello. Hi, Kristen. Hello. Thank you guys so much for rolling in. Okay, we can get started soon. Hey there. So happy you guys could join me on this Saturday. So if this is our first time hanging out, my name is Rebecca Jacobs and I help powerful women to create purposeful personal style, which means style that works for those high moments, for those exciting speaking, networking, first dates, job interview type moments, but also style that is impacting yourself in a positive way in your everyday, that is powerful in how you feel about yourself and how you interact with yourself. So if you did your homework and watched last week's video, which was all about how to organize your closet, then you are in good standing because that is the basis of how your closet should be. And now we're just talking about how to keep it that way, because even if you know how to organize it, it's only going to be good if it is organized that way in these days. Yes, and to anyone who saw my Instagram story, I did manage to get dressed, although my hair is still a little wet, but it's looking kind of okay on here, so that's awesome. So, who here has watched our video on how to organize your closet and is all set to dive in? Hey everyone. Inga, okay. So I'm going to be sharing 4 tips, and then we're going to be talking about what to do with small closets in general, because that can be one of the trickiest situations, is when you feel like you need more clothes than you have room for in your closet. So my first strategy I want to share with you guys here is that everything needs to have a place. That you can't have your white tennis shoes that move around from, sometimes they're in the front hall closet, sometimes they're in your bedroom closet, sometimes they're in a pile in the corner, that they need a home, they need a place. Same with your t-shirt, can't be in this drawer one day and that drawer another day and sometimes hang up, that you want everything to have a home. This is what's going to make it easy to keep organized, because if you're just putting things willy-nilly, it's not so easy. So our first thing is to give everything a place, and there's not really much stipulations around here except figuring out what works for you, that you want the things you wear the most to be the most accessible. And our other thing here is that to think about what you're hanging versus folding and putting in a drawer, because there are some things that will not do well in hangers. So you probably know what these are. These are your sweaters. These are anything that can stretch out of shape, because that act of being on the hanger can stretch out the shoulders, and if it's a heavy piece, can pull it down and be stretching it out vertically. So you want to make sure that anything that is in that material that can stretch out of shape, so this is like wool or cashmere, usually this is the stuff your heavier sweaters and even your thinner sweaters are made out of, that you're folding those, and that everything else you can just decide what works better for you. So this is our step number 1. We're going to move through them quickly today so you can get back to your Saturday, is to give everything a home. And then the second part is, now once you've given everything a home, is you want to make sure that nothing is beyond 80% capacity. That you want all your drawers, you want your closet, you want your clothing rack, if you have one, to only be at 80% capacity. This is actually the tip I think makes the most difference, is not having to deal with these overstuffed drawers where you're like pushing it down and shoving it closed each day. Is what's going to make you put things back into place, is knowing that everything is gliding open easily. You're not having to pull out 5 things because all the hangers are stuck together, but that you have everything that's only full at 80% capacity. So how do you get to this? You can rejig how you have things set up. Like maybe you have a drawer that's really full because it's all your thick sweaters, and then a t-shirt drawer that's emptier. So you can keep some sweaters with your t-shirt. You're allowed to do that. You'll just remember these are the sweaters I keep with my t-shirt. And then you can think about alternate storage options. So if you want to have, instead of just having all your sweaters in one spot, you might have sweaters in a drawer, but then have a few that are folded nicely on a shelf because they're your favorite colors and they go with your decor or something. So the ultimate tip here is just to not have anything full to the brim, but instead to kind of whittle down to that 80% capacity, because that's what's going to be really easy and peaceful to interact with. And this was a tip I did not follow for a long time, is that I wanted to have my furniture take up less space, so I tried to cram everything into the drawers, but then I was ruining my clothes that were constantly being jammed and brushing against the top of the drawer when I tried to close it. That wood can be abrasive that's in there, the like plywood, if you have IKEA furniture like so many of us do, and that I was not finding it easy to get dressed and to pull things out. Instead, I was stuck having to unfold 4 sweaters to get to the one because they're also stuffed full. But then instead of just having 1 sweater to put away, I have 4. So that is not very easy for keeping your closet organized. So if you're just jumping in now, say hi, say your name, and I'll recap our first 2 tips for you really quick, which was to give everything a place. Your black flats aren't going to move from your front closet to your bedroom closet to a pile on the store floor, but instead they're going to have just one home, and everything has a home. And then our second tip was to have everything at only 80% capacity, that you're not overfilling your closet or overfilling your drawers, but instead you're just keeping everything at a nice 80% where everything can breathe, everything has its own space. And then our third tip here, which is the one that you don't just get to set and forget it, you have to keep doing it, is to only touch things once. So when you are trying on clothes in the morning, when you are getting undressed at the end of the day, that everything is only touched once. It's just one fluid motion from your body to its home, to the laundry bin, to a dry clean pile, to whatever piles make sense for you. That's all I can think of that would probably be important, is that it's just going away right away. So if you're trying on 4 different outfits in the morning, you're putting that outfit away before you try on another one, so that it's not piling up and it's not becoming that unmanageable closet to be dealing with every day. This one can be hard because we're tired at the end of the day. So like, hands up if you ever use the chair where you're just putting your clothes on the chair to deal with later and determine if they're actually dirty enough for the washing or if they can go back in the drawer, but that you'll deal with it another way. Do we have any chair users in here? This is a common one I see. And then where we can go from here is now you have everything has a place, that everything is only at 80% capacity, so nothing is overflowing. And yes, Inga says the amorphous lump. That's a good way to put it. I like it. And Steph says totally. See, I have some chairs and some lump users in here. It's a thing, and it's actually only hurting us because then it becomes even more unmanageable to deal with. I'm guilty of this too. I am a morning person, not a night person. At the end of the day, I do not feel like putting my clothes away, but we got to build this habit in anyway. And it truly is a habit. The more you do it, the easier it is to keep doing. So we have everything in its home, we have everything at 80% capacity, and then everything we're taking off, we're putting away before we get our pajamas or try on another outfit on. That it is fluid motions to easily open drawers, to take our things off and put them right away. And then I have my final tip here I wanted to share, which is to reshuffle and have intentional placement for things. Rita said, you just solved my problem of keeping getting clothes back from storage. Just because my closet is too full, I keep bringing clothes, although it seems irrational. Yes, this is so true, and this is something we're going to talk about at the end with the small closets, but you're totally right to already connect those dots, Rita. So this reshuffle and intentional placement, the tip number 4 here, is that you want your closet to be consistently adapting to fit the season, the weather, to fit what you want to wear, and to really be making it an easier, simpler process to interact with each day. So that an example of this would be when I take off this shirt, instead of putting it just front and center in my closet, just putting it wherever it's easiest, that I actually move it a bit to the back, because I know I don't want to wear this tomorrow, I just wore it today, so why would I put it front and center? Instead, we can move things back a bit, so when we wear it, put it a little bit farther back, maybe put it like 10 shirts in instead of right at the front, so that what you do see front and center tomorrow, or the sweater that's on the top of the pile tomorrow, is not the exact same one you wore yesterday, that instead we get to kind of have more variety and play integrated in our wardrobe without having to do anything besides just taking the things we do wear and moving them less out of front and center, so that we're more tempted and it's more convenient to wear something a little different than we wore yesterday. Now, yes, rotation, that's a good way to put it. So glad these tips are helping you, Kristen. And the other way this can work is with the seasons, which is how I end up using it a lot in Toronto weather, where if, like, we don't just have one cold season and one warm season. We have freezing, where all you can wear is your warmest sweaters, and then we have kind of a light winter light, where you need to wear a sweater, but you can wear a thin one or a cardigan, and that will be okay, where you need to constantly be adapting for this new weather, whatever the weather is. So it was warmer before, so I was wearing more blouses, things like I was wearing today, so I had moved them to the front of my closet just for when it was a little warm there. And now that it got colder again, I don't want to put them all back in storage, but I'm just going to move them back a little bit and have the warmer pieces closer to the front, so that your closet is fluid. It's constantly adapting to best serve you, that everything has a home, whether that's in the closet or the drawer, but within that, things can shift to make it easier on yourself every day. Gosh, I hate Toronto weather right now. I know, it's freezing. I just got back from Texas this week. I thought I'd be coming home to warm weather, and I'm not. Toronto weather struggle is real, yes. On YouTube and on Instagram, we're both agreeing with this current Toronto weather. So these are the 4 steps that I think, if you've thought out your closet and used some of the criteria I shared in the YouTube video from last week, that you can add on these 4 steps you do more consistently to have a closet that continues to feel organized and continues to be serving you best. That yes, we could just throw everything in a drawer and call it a day, but that it's much more of a joyful process and a peaceful process if we are interacting with it in a way that feels simple, that feels effortless, that feels like we've made it easier for ourselves, instead of just made it as difficult as it can be on ourselves to find a shirt we didn't wear yesterday, when we have a drawer that's overstuffed full of all the things we just wore are the only ones that are sitting on top. So what about these tips? Were there any that stood out to you that you're excited to go and implement? Then we can talk about just having a small closet in general and some of the struggles about that, which I think all of us Toronto people can maybe relate to. There's a lot of small condo closets. I know my closet isn't a bad size, but it definitely feels small at times for everything I would love to put in there. So cold in Toronto. Yes, I know nobody's happy about this. Even my boyfriend, who loves winter, was complaining about the weather this weekend, and usually he's just happy to get whatever cold he can get. Absolutely, tiny closets and weather changes are a struggle. Awesome. I'm so glad we got the chat working on YouTube this time. Last time I did this live, it was not working on YouTube. So let's recap those 4 strategies, and then we'll move on to small closets for those of you who are just joining in. So we talked about giving everything a place, that everything is either kept in a specific drawer or in a specific closet, and that your tennis shoes aren't moving around from the back closet to the bedroom closet to sitting in a corner on the floor, that all these things are only filled with 80% capacity, so that they have lots of breathing room, that it feels spacious and peaceful when you're interacting with them, and that we're only going to touch things once, that we take them off and we put them dry cleaning pile or dirty clothes pile or back in their home, that those are our only options, and that we're doing this constant reshuffling to make our wardrobe easier on ourselves, to have the pieces we haven't worn in a while sitting on top, have the pieces that are very wearable right now sitting on top. And then let's use some of those strategies to talk about small closets. So your best defense against a small closet is to make sure that everything that's in there is extremely wearable right now, so that you don't need to have 50 pieces where only a given 10 of them are wearable right now, but instead you can have a closet that only fits 18 pieces, but they're all insanely wearable right now. So what that means is that they're all in line with the weather, they're all pieces you love right now, so that's what you see. And I want you to think about having kind of seasons within seasons, that you will have, instead of just having a fall, winter, and a spring, summer wardrobe, you'll have an early spring wardrobe and a mid-spring wardrobe and a late spring wardrobe. Or maybe you can think of it as monthly wardrobes. So this way you're changing to make the pieces more relevant to the weather right now, but also to keep that playfulness of having different pieces in your wardrobe. Even though you only have 18 of them, they're different than they were a month ago, some of them. So you get more of that playfulness in it. And then those other pieces that are being moved out can go under the bed, or they can go in a box at the top of the closet, that they can go somewhere that's just not front and center and that's not taking up your prime closet real estate when you have such a small closet. Another strategy that was what I thought of when you said, Rita, that you struggle with you use this method, but then you go to get one blouse and you end up coming back with 10 blouses, is to use this one in, one out method. So if you go to get one blouse, you have to trade a blouse, that you have to bring one back out, so that you're not coming back with 5 unless you want to give up 5 that are in your closet right now. And it's okay to do this as often as you want, but that you're always going to have the same amount, so you're always going to keep that spacious 80% capacity. And then you can also think about those things I kind of mentioned earlier about what other potential storage options do you have for clothes. Like, I use a clothing rack. I have enough that I could fit everything. Like, I have enough space in my closet that I could fit everything in my closet, but I want to make it as easy on myself as possible. So I've added this additional option of putting all my blouses and dresses, because those tend to be the prettier items, out on display. And this is what's making it easier for me, that I can use a small closet in combination with a clothing rack and have that still spacious where everything's only like 80% full. My clothing rack is like 40% full right now. I don't have that many blouses and dresses with the current winter weather. And that you can make use of these additional storage options, or like putting sweaters on shelves. Mention that is another good option. Things you can do to find those little pockets that are still easily accessible without having to just cram everything into one closet. So I hope those tips help to anyone with a small closet. If you guys want to ask any questions, I will hang around for a bit to chat small closets, large closets, terrible Toronto weather, whatever is on your mind. And then tiny closets and weather changes. Yep, 2 struggles. Thanks for tip. No problem, Rita. I hope it helps you. I think maybe that 80% capacity rule will really help you, and maybe the trade in and trade out one. Can you do a closet tour on YouTube? That is a great idea. I will do one on Instagram stories later today, and then maybe on YouTube in the future, because I don't get videos up. It takes me like months to get videos up after I film them. Tips on outfit formulas with multiple places of clothes storage. So I might be misinterpreting your question, but what I'm guessing you're asking about, Kristen, is that if you have the pieces spread out, I would keep them in formulas. So like all your crop tops that you wear with high-waisted pants and skirts, to have those all in one place, and then maybe have your skinny jeans that you wear with longer tops to all be kept in the same place. That's maybe different if you have it spread out. Hope that answered your question. So yeah, I will do a little closet tour on Instagram stories to show you how I have mine laid out. It's kind of ridiculous, but kind of ridiculous about style. So you don't have to have it exactly as I do, but maybe seeing it will help you to see how these tips can be implemented for you. Do you store accessories, hats, etc. with your clothes? I do. I don't have a lot of hats, but I do keep my hats on my clothing rack, and I keep my purses above my clothes in my closet, so they're right there in my line of sight with them. And then the only exception would be jewelry. I keep in a drawer near my makeup, which is how I put on jewelry. I put it on at the same time as my makeup, and I put on like a hat will be on my rack because it'll be kind of the last thing I add. So I don't want it to be like in the back of my closet, but something that's convenient to get when I'm headed out the door. So this is kind of what we talked about in the YouTube video on how to organize your closet in the first place, is to keep things with things you're going to interact with at the same time. So like your top should be with your pants because you're probably going to put both of those on at the same time. And if you put your jewelry on with your makeup, it makes sense to keep the jewelry and your makeup together, which is what I do. Yes, that makes sense. Okay, so glad I interpreted your question right, Kristen. It is Kristen, right? Not Kirsten. If I'm saying it wrong, I'm sorry, and you can correct me in the comments. Thanks, Angelica. So glad to have you here. Yes, the 80% tip will make the difference. I bet it will, Rita. You'll have to report back to us on one of my photos and let me know how it goes for you. Okay, so I think I'm going to pop off now. I'd planned to keep this one short and sweet, about 20 minutes, so we didn't do too bad. And Kristen, okay, so glad I got it because I've said it like 3 times now. And I will be having a new video up next week on my channel, and then I'll be doing another live video the week after that where we can talk about it and expand on it. And, okay, Inga said, I have trouble with day to night combos in winter weather. It's hard not to carry jackets, etc. Yeah. Day to night in winter can be hard when you're thinking of night as, like more going out things where you are in like a hot bar or like a dance hall. These are terrible. Clearly I don't go out that much, so I'm calling hot bars and dance halls. That you don't really want to carry your thick jacket in there. So I would utilize coat checks for things like that. And that if it's more of like just a casual cocktail thing, that there is, dinners and drinks. Okay, so if it's more like that, then I would dress in kind of something more layered. So maybe it's a light layer underneath with like a thin blouse or something, and then you have your thick jacket. So that way it's annoying to carry it, but then you just have one thing instead of having to strip off like a wool sweater and all of that. But yeah, it can be hard to go from day to night in the winter. Shoes are kind of another hard part for that because we wear big clunky boots a lot of the time and we don't feel like wearing that inside. But you make the best of it in Toronto, and I think that's very much the atmosphere here where people are okay to wear things that are more logical and work better for the weather than to just wear the romantic ideas of what they could wear in the style. I think I'll come back to that though. We could go through some more strategies for transitioning from day to night in the different seasons in maybe a YouTube video. So that was a great idea. Okay, so see you guys. Bye, Angelica, and everyone else. Giant purse for the win. You got it. So thank you guys so much for being here. And if you missed some of this, there will be a replay of the video over on YouTube, so you can go back and watch what you missed. It'll be up there very soon. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for the hearts, and have a wonderful Saturday. Love you guys.